Rise and shine, it's Entspresso time. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and successful people don't wake up every day and say, yes, today is going to be amazing. The difference is they have a powerful morning routine, like watching one of these videos, that set them up for success. So let's start your day off right together, grab your coffee, and get ready for a shot of Entspresso from Simon Sinek.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
We come to work feeling uncomfortable that some of the decisions that are being made don't benefit the good of the employee, that it really benefits this artificial constituency that we call the shareholder, which is really just a bunch of institutional investors. There's this shareholder myth because there's been a steady decline of the middle class being involved in the stock market for years. And the whole point of the stock market was that we all get to share in the wealth that we helped build, because it's on the back of average Joe employees that produced the great wealth in the nation. And the whole point of the stock market, the genius of the modern day corporation, the genius of the public company, was that we all get to share in the wealth that we're helping produce. Unfortunately, over the course of the 80s and 90s, we've seen systems produced where we're seeing the general population, the middle class, actually be less included in that success. And the reason I wrote The Infinite Game was because I myself got tired of being told by people in positions of authority or people of extreme wealth that I was naive, that I don't understand how business works. And for many years, I believed them. I thought, maybe I am the dumb one, right? We all kind of feel that because they have the power, they have the authority, they have the money, they know more than we do, but we still go to work and feel uncomfortable. And it turns out that that discomfort, that gut feeling that says that there's something wrong here, turns out that the majority actually knows something. And to me, this is a world is flat moment, that the people who've learned to game the system, that this discomfort that we feel, we actually are right. Like, they actually don't understand the game they're in. Business is an infinite game, and when you play with a finite mindset, lots of people suffer, including the companies that they themselves are trying to build. That's the great irony. The great irony is the way you build great companies is with an infinite mindset. The way you build great companies is by prioritizing people before profit. The way you build great companies is will before resources. Both things important, but there has to be this general leaning where we can feel. When we come to work and feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves, where we feel that our work and our effort is worth more than simply the money we make.
Having an infinite mindset comes from you wanting people to win more than you want them to win with you. You want people to win around you, your friends, your family, your team, your customers, the people you interact with. You want them to win as people in their life, in their goals, whatever they want to accomplish. You want them to win more than you want them to win with you. If you can start to adopt that mindset, it really starts to shift how you see your relationships, how you see your business, how you see the people on your team, and it allows so much more positive energy to flow in the right direction for everybody to accomplish their goals. So, quick example. I made a bunch of videos on Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is one of the first people that he was, I guess, the first big person who kind of recognized the work that I was doing. And he put the video I made on him on his homepage on YouTube and got a lot more views. And we made more videos on Tony Robbins. Tony then invites me to go to his event. We did a couple interviews together. He invites me to go and puts me in, the awesome seating right up front. And I got a lot of people coming up to say, hey, Evan, they recognize me. I'm also wearing the hoodie. Not that I'm a celebrity, but in that kind of world, people would recognize me. And they said, you introduced me to Tony Robbins. That they found out about Tony Robbins or Simon Sinek or Tom Bilyeu or whoever through the content that I'm putting up. And I had a few people who said, hey, I found out about Tony Robbins from you, and I haven't actually gone back and watched your videos in a while because I've been so deep in Tony Robbins land. And now I'm here at this event and paid thousands of dollars to be here learning from Tony. And I don't watch your channel anymore, but thank you for introducing me to Tony Robbins because that's what I watch now. I'm pumped. I'm excited. It's like, that's amazing. Thank you for telling me. Now, would I love for them to be with me forever? Yes, of course, absolutely. But I'm more happy that you're off winning. If you watch this video and you learn from Simon Sinek and you've never heard of him before, you have, and you want to dive deeper, and then you go and you buy all his books and you subscribe to him on YouTube and you dive deep into his world and you don't come back and watch another video of mine for another 12 months, I'm pumped for you. I want you to win as a human, as an entrepreneur, more than I want you to subscribe to my channel and keep watching videos here. It's just a fundamental shift in how you see relationships. I look at the people on my team. I want them all to win as people more than win with me. And I see everybody that I'm working with as a parallel path. You and I right now, you're watching this video, we're on a parallel path. This is a parallel path that we're marching on together. And then at the end of this video, you're gonna go off and go do something else. And hopefully productive and empowering and impactful. You're gonna have a great day. Come on, let's go, Believe Nation. But you're gonna go off and do something else. You're gonna step out the different Carmichael path and go do something else. And maybe you come back on the path, or maybe you go way off and you never come back. But right now, you're watching this video, we're on a parallel path, you and I, together. I just want to maximize that time together. That while you're on a path with me, that you're going to become better. And that should be your goal with the people you're around, that we have these parallel paths that we're running together for a certain amount of time. And maybe that's 10 minutes in a conversation. Maybe that's a year of somebody working with you. Maybe that's 10 years. Maybe that's a life partner that's forever, right? But you're on these parallel paths. Your goal needs to be, while somebody's interacting with you in person, via email, through your content, they're with you, that they're a better person because of that interaction with you. If you can do that, if you can just change the way you see relationships to do that, to instead just think about yourself first and think about them first and helping them accomplish what they need to accomplish, even if it means leaving you. I've recommended people to courses and programs that are not my own. I've kicked people off of my team because I was going to hold them back. They wanted to stay here, but like, you need to go and do that thing. This is too safe and comfortable for you, and I can't give you the thing that you want. You have to leave and go do that thing and push them towards it. It makes a huge difference. Okay, so how do you do it? You start by being their chief goal officer. Everybody who you come in contact with, be their chief goal officer. What that means is understand what is their most important goal in their life. What are they trying to accomplish? And then go out of your way to try to think about how you can help them. And maybe you can help them inside your business, inside your expertise, inside what you're really good at. Or maybe it's an introduction that you can make to somebody else. Or maybe it's just researching a little bit about what they care about to help them. A quick example, one of my instructors at Toronto Dance Salsa has Lyme disease. Also, one of the guys on my marketing team now has Lyme disease. But at the time, I knew nothing about Lyme. I didn't know what it was, didn't know what it caused, didn't know how you got it, didn't know anything about Lyme disease. But because she has it, I started learning about Lyme disease. I set up a Google News alert that anytime there was something about Lyme disease, I would get notified. And I started sharing things with her that she hadn't seen before. You know, started sharing that Avril Lavigne has Lyme disease and Shania Twain had Lyme disease, and they both took big breaks from their singing career because of the impact of Lyme disease. If there's new treatments or holistic healing or other people talking about it, then I would share it with them. And I would also educate myself in that process, to the point now where she has opened up her own Lyme disease holistic healing practice and doesn't teach at my school anymore. She's left the school to go launch this business. And I'm so excited for her. It's great. It's fantastic, right? We're on the parallel path, and now she's jumped off and done her own thing, which is amazing. Now, did I make her go launch that business? Of course not. Did I have a tiny little piece of inspiration or hope? Maybe. I'd like to think so. But when you can help people accomplish their goals, it does two things. One, it makes you feel good. You know how good it feels to help somebody, right? We're all built to serve. Where's the book right there? We're all built to serve. It makes you feel good to know that you help somebody. This is what we all want to wake up and feel like what we do matters, is meaningful. You are built to serve. And so when you can get out of your own selfish interests and go help that person accomplish what they want, it feels good. I get more joy from doing that than a business transaction, right? I get more joy from sending her something that she's like, oh my God, I didn't know that existed, than how many views I got on my video yesterday, right? It feels weird to know, great, we have 3 million subscribers on my main channel. I don't even know what that means. It's hard to even contemplate that. It doesn't feel like anything I can touch. But knowing that I helped one person with something is the thing that gets me excited. So it feels good. And the more you feel like you're doing things that matter, at least to one person, it gives you the motivation, energy to just keep going. Because a lot of times that's the thing that we struggle with, is we don't feel like what we do matters. It's not important. Then we lose motivation, then we stop, we quit, right? So you have to feel the connection to the work that you're doing. The second thing I found though, and this was quite accidental, is that all this stuff ends up paying off. You know, I've been in this game long enough now. I'm 41. I started doing content in speeches and then my website when I was 21. So it's been 20 years. I spent half my life. Wow. I spent half my life making videos, making content, trying to help entrepreneurs, half my life. And what's great about that, when you have some longevity, is you start to see the fruits of your labor. You start to see those seeds that you planted in other people, you start to see it pay off. Now, not for everybody. There's lots of people who I've helped, or I was their first episode on their podcast, and then maybe they didn't even launch the show, you know, or they don't do anything with their goals. But when you see some people take off, they always try to find a way to pay it back. A great example is a guy named Nick who runs Book Thinkers. It's an Instagram account, an Instagram network of it's the largest Instagram network of nonfiction books. So if you care about nonfiction books and learning, go check out Book Thinkers and check out Nick. When I wrote Your One Word a bunch of years ago, I reached out to Nick and said, hey Nick, love what you're doing on Instagram. I'd love to send you a copy of my book or do some kind of collaboration, let me know. And he didn't have a big account at the time. And I was the first author, brand name, whatever, to reach out and try to do something with him. And he said yes, and we did, a quick little thing. Fast forward 3 years later, I launched my second book, Built to Serve, which is great. And Nick had, in that time, built the largest network of Instagram accounts for nonfiction books. He went from just purely starting up and didn't have much to 3 years later having this giant network of accounts. And when Built to Serve came out, he wanted to help promote it. Where otherwise that would have been more of a challenge. Hey, I've got this book. Do you want to help and be a part of it? He was looking for ways to give back because of the help that I'd given him, right? And so I don't want you to think and be strategic to say, okay, if I help this person out, then in 3 years, they're going to help me out, right? If you're only thinking of what am I going to get from this, you've already lost. I'm just telling you that it's practical. I'm telling you that karma is practical. I'm telling you that giving love and helping people becomes practical if you do it enough. Jonathan Fields calls it maximum sustainable generosity. And I love how he said it, because you want to be generous as much as possible, but at some point it's not sustainable because you run out of time, you run out of effort, you run out of money. You can't just give everything because you need to sleep and you need to pay yourself and you need to run your business, you need to do your things. But what is the maximum sustainable generosity? Where the focus is just on helping people, on helping the people who are around you, being their chief goal officer, having the infinite mindset, wanting people to win more than wanting them to win with you. And by helping them accomplish their goals, great things will happen for you too. I promise. You just have to be around long enough to have it come back. Because some people next week will help you, and some people, it may take 2 years. But if you're committed to doing the thing that you're doing, I'm in this game forever. I want to help entrepreneurs forever. I've been doing it for half my life already now, and double my life again at 80, I'll still be doing this. It may not be YouTube, maybe we're VRing or hologramming into your living room or something, and we're filling virtual stadiums, I don't know. But I'll still be doing this when I'm 80. And if you found that thing that you love connecting with, that this is not just a short-term opportunity to try to make money this year or the next 3 months, but like this is your life's work and purpose, that you want to wake up every day and do something that's going to contribute to society and move it forward in some way, that you mattered to people because you showed up and did the difficult thing and shared your story and put your content out there and created a product or service that actually moved the needle for people. Like if that's what you want to do, then you have to adopt the infinite mindset. Then you have to be thinking long-term. Then you have to be trying to have maximum sustainable generosity, to be their chief goal officer. And at the bottom of all of it is wanting people to win as humans in their life more than you want them to win with you. Adopt that mindset and everything changes. Now, I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the good deed of the day. This is something new. I believe that you're built to serve, and it feels so good to do something nice for somebody else. So good deed of the day, put down in the comments one thing that you need help with, that you're working on, that you'd love some support or guidance on. And then 2, go comment on somebody else's comment and give them some love, give them some support, give them some encouragement, maybe give them some connections, try to help them solve that problem. Even if it's saying, I believe in you. That one little bit of encouragement can be the difference between somebody quitting and continuing on. So the good deed of the day, in the comments below, write down one thing that you need help on, that you're struggling with, that you're working on. And then part 2 is go give love to somebody else in the comments too, and let them know that you believe in them as well.
Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, the science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action for you to shift that habit forward. So I've designed a special free program to help you get more self-belief for every day. For 254 days, I will send you an email to an unlisted video that, if you watch it, will shift your confidence forward. The links to join for free are in the description below.
We'll walk into a room and say, here's the problem, here's what I think, but I'm interested in your opinion. Let's go around the room. It's too late.
I would rather take the risk of walking out, knowing that I might get moved in a way that I've never experienced before, more than just go and have a nice night out and see something that I know is good. Successful measurement, successful recognition is not just for the steps you take. It's not just for the effort. It's that the effort you exerted moved us closer to where we're trying to get to. The company trains us how to do our job. Some of us get advanced degrees on how to do our job, accounting, engineering, whatever. And if you're really good at doing your job, eventually they'll promote you. And eventually you'll get promoted into a position where you're now responsible for the people who do the job you used to do. But nobody teaches us how to do that. And so they put us in a position of leadership and demand results, which is like putting us in front of the machine and demanding results, although they never showed us how to use the machine. And so we fumble our way through and we break things, and we don't want anybody to know that we have no clue what we're doing. And of course we manage people, because I do know how to do your job better than you. That's what got me promoted. We have to go through this transition where, when you're now in a leadership position, you are now no longer responsible for the results. You're now responsible for the people who are responsible for the results. I love talking to CEOs, and I say, what's your priority? They say, my customer. You haven't talked to a customer in 10 years. There's not a CEO on the planet, anywhere, who's responsible for the customer. You're responsible for the people who are responsible for the customer. As a solopreneur, you're chief cook and bottle washer. It's a hard job. And when you have a very small enterprise, you have to balance this thing, because you have a responsibility as a worker, but you also have a responsibility as a leader, and they have to be separate. So when you do work, you're a worker, you do the best job you can do if you're out there consulting or pitching or whatever you're doing. But when you're the leader, you're taking care of your people so they can be at their natural best, so that they can thrive. And you know that their work is not your responsibility. They are your responsibility. Their work is their responsibility.
So a friend of mine and I, we went for a run in Central Park. The Roadrunners organization, on the weekends, they host races. And it's very common at the end of the race, they'll have a sponsor who will give away something, apples or bagels or something. And on this particular day, when we got to the end of the run, there were some free bagels. And they had picnic tables set up, and on one side was a group of volunteers. On the table were boxes of bagels, and on the other side was a long line of runners waiting to get their free bagel. So I said to my friend, let's get a bagel. And he looked at me and said, the line's too long. And I said, free bagel. And he said, I don't want to wait in line. And I was like, free bagel. And he says, nah, it's too long. And that's when I realized that there's two ways to see the world. Some people see the thing that they want, and some people see the thing that prevents them from getting the thing that they want. I could only see the bagels. He could only see the line. And so I walked up to the line, I leaned in between two people, put my hand in the box, and pulled out 2 bagels. And no one got mad at me. Because the rule is, you can go after whatever you want. You just cannot deny anyone else to go after whatever they want. Now, I had to sacrifice choice. I didn't get to choose which bagel I got. I got whatever I pulled out, but I didn't have to wait in line. So the point is you don't have to wait in line. You don't have to do it the way everybody else has done it. You can do it your way. You can break the rules. You just can't get in the way of somebody else getting what they want.
Performing under pressure, whether it's me or anybody else, is the same. You know, I have the same pressures as anyone else. There's time, there's performance, there's financial. I mean, there's deadlines. My pressures are not unique. The situations may be different, but everybody has the same kinds of pressures. But what I found, or what I find fascinating, is the interpretation of the stimuli. Let me explain. So I was watching the Olympics, this last Summer Olympics, and I was amazed at how bad the questions were that the reporters would ask all the athletes. And almost always, they asked the same question, whether they were about to compete or after they competed. Were you nervous, right? And to a T, all the athletes went, no, right? And what I realized is it's not that they're not nervous, it's their interpretation of what's happening in their bodies. I mean, what happens when you're nervous, right? Your heart rate starts to go, you sort of get a little tense, you get a little sweaty, right? You have expectation of what's coming, and we interpret that as, I'm nervous. Now, what's the interpretation of excited? Your heart rate starts to go, you're anticipating what's coming, right? You get a little sort of like tense. It's all the same thing. It's the same stimuli, except these athletes, these Olympic quality athletes, have learned to interpret the stimuli that the rest of us would say is nervous as excited. They all say the same thing. No, I'm not nervous. I'm excited. And so I've actually practiced it just to tell myself when I start to get nervous that this is excitement. Yeah. You know? And so I used to speak in front of a large audience and somebody would say, how do you feel? I used to say, a little nervous. Now when somebody says, how do you feel? I'm like, really excited, actually. And it came from just sort of telling myself, no, this is excitement. And it becomes a little bit automatic later on. But it's kind of a remarkable thing to deal with pressure by interpreting what your body is experiencing as excitement rather than nerves. And it's really kind of effective. It makes you want to rush forwards rather than pull back, and yet it's the same experience.
I talk to so many smart, fantastic, ambitious, idealistic, hard-working kids, and they're right out of college, they're in their entry-level jobs, and I'll ask them, how's it going? And they'll say, I think I'm gonna quit. And I'm like, why? They say to me, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here 8 months, right? They treat the sense of fulfillment or even love like it's a scavenger hunt, like it's something you look for. My millennial friends, they've gone through so many jobs. They're either getting fired, it was mutual, or they're quitting because they're not making an impact, or they're not finding the thing they're looking for, they're not feeling fulfilled, as if it's a scavenger hunt. Love, a job you find joy from, is not something you discover. It's not like, I found love. Here it is. I found a job I love. That's not how it works. Both of those things require hard work. You are in love because you work very hard every single day of your life to stay in love. You find a job that brings you ultimate joy because you work hard every single day to serve those around you, and you maintain that joy. It's not a discovery. But the problem is this sense of impatience. It's as if an entire generation is standing at the foot of a mountain. They know exactly what they want. They can see the summit. What they can't see is the mountain. This large, immovable object. That doesn't mean you have to do your time. That's not what I'm talking about. Take a helicopter, climb, I don't care. But there's still a mountain. Life, career fulfillment, relationships are journeys. The problem is, this entire generation has an institutionalized sense of impatience, and do they have the patience to go on the journey to maintain love, to feel fulfilled, or do they just quit and on to the next, dump and on to the next, ghost and on to the next?
In the 18th century, there was something that spread across Europe and eventually made its way to America called Puerto Fever, also known as the Black Death of childbed. Basically, what was happening is women were giving birth, and they would die within 48 hours after giving birth. This Black Death of childbirth was the ravage of Europe, and it got worse and worse and worse over the course of over a century. In some hospitals, it was as high as 70% of women who gave birth who would die as a result of giving birth. But this was the Renaissance. This was the time of empirical data and science, and we had thrown away things like tradition and mysticism. These were men of science, these were doctors. And these doctors and men of science wanted to study and try and find the reason for this Black Death of childbed, and so they got to work studying, and they would study the corpses of the women who had died. And in the morning they would conduct autopsies, and then in the afternoon they would go and deliver babies and finish their rounds. And it wasn't until somewhere in the mid-1800s that Dr. Oliver Wendell Holmes, father of Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, realized that all of these doctors who were conducting autopsies in the morning weren't washing their hands before they delivered babies in the afternoon. And he pointed it out and said, "Guys, you're the problem." And they ignored him and called him crazy for 30 years. Until finally somebody realized that if they simply washed their hands, it would go away. And that's exactly what happened. When they started sterilizing their instruments and washing their hands, the Black Death of childbed disappeared. My point is, the lesson here is, sometimes you're the problem. We've seen this happen all too recently with our new men of science and empirical studiers and these men of finance who are smarter than the rest of us until the thing collapsed. And they blamed everything else except themselves. And my point is take accountability for your actions. You can take all the credit in the world for the things that you do right, as long as you also take responsibility for the things you do wrong. It must be a balanced equation. You don't get it one way and not the other. You get to take credit when you also take accountability.
I spoke at an education summit for Microsoft. I also spoke at an education summit for Apple. At the education summit for Microsoft, I would say that 70% of the executives spent about 70% of their presentations talking about how to beat Apple. At the Apple Education Summit, 100% of the executives spent 100% of their presentations talking about how to help teachers teach and how to help students learn. One is playing this way, and one is playing that way. One is playing finite, and the other one is playing infinite. Guess which one gets frustrated? So at the end of my talk at Microsoft, they gave me a gift. They gave me the new Zune when it was a thing. And let me tell you, this thing was spectacular. It was the most elegant piece of technology I'd ever used. The user interface was incredible. The design was spectacular. I absolutely loved it. It was easy to use, and it was bright and gorgeous and fantastic. It didn't work on iTunes, which is a different problem, so I couldn't use it, but it was amazing. And elegant. My God, it was elegant. So I'm sitting in the back of a taxi with a very senior Apple executive, sort of employee number 12 kind of guy. And, you know, I like to stir pots. So I turned to him, I said, you know, Microsoft gave me their new Zune. And it is so much better than your iPod Touch. And he turned to me and he said, I have no doubt. Conversation over. Because the infinite player understands sometimes you're ahead and sometimes you're behind. Sometimes your product is better and sometimes it's worse. The goal isn't to be the best every day. The goal isn't to outdo your competition every day. That's a finite construction. If I had said to Microsoft, I've got the new iPod Touch and it's so much better than your Zune, they would have said, can we see it? What does it do? React, 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 react. Finite players play to beat the people around them. Infinite players play
to be better than themselves. To wake up every single day and say, how can we make our company a better version of itself today than it was yesterday? How can we create a product this week that's better than the product we created last week? We also have to play the infinite game. It's not about being ranked number one. It's not about having more followers on Twitter than your friends. It's not about outdoing anyone. It's about how to outdo yourself. It's not about selling more books or getting more TED views than somebody else. It's about how to make sure that the work that you're producing is better than the work you produced before. You are your competition. And that is what ensures you stay in the game the longest. And that is what ensures you find joy. Because the joy comes not from comparison, but from advancement.
When are you at your best?
I'm at my best when I'm around people who believe what I believe. I know it seems silly, but I try very, very hard to sort of stack the deck, to put myself in a position of strength. So for example, somebody asked me just yesterday, have you ever had sort of a bad, engagement? And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, not really, but it's not because I'm some sort of genius or anything like that. It's because I stack the deck. It's because I want to be there. I want to be around people who want me there. In other words, if I'm somebody's 10th choice, I'll probably turn it down. Whereas if I'm their first choice, they really want me there, and so I'm more likely to have a good engagement. They're supportive of me, I'm supportive of them, and so I'm at my best when I stack the deck, when I choose to be in an environment where my strengths are there.
Nelson Mandela is a particularly special case study in the leadership world because he is universally regarded as a great leader. You can take other personalities, and depending on the nation you go to, we have different opinions about other personalities. But Nelson Mandela, across the world, is universally regarded as a great leader. He was actually the son of a tribal chief. And he was asked one day, how did you learn to be a great leader? And he responded that he would go with his father to tribal meetings. And he remembers two things when his father would meet with other elders. One, they would always sit in a circle. And two, his father was always the last to speak. You will be told your whole life that you need to learn to listen. I would say that you need to learn to be the last to speak. I see it in boardrooms every day of the week. Even people who consider themselves good leaders, who may actually be decent leaders, will walk into a room and say, here's the problem, here's what I think, but I'm interested in your opinion, let's go around the room. It's too late. The skill to hold your opinions to yourself until everyone has spoken does two things. One, it gives everybody else the feeling that they have been heard. It gives everyone else the ability to feel that they have contributed. And two, you get the benefit of hearing what everybody else has to think before you render your opinion. The skill is really to keep your opinions to yourself. If you agree with somebody, don't nod yes. If you disagree with somebody, don't nod no. Simply sit there, take it all in, and the only thing you're allowed to do is ask questions so that you can understand what they mean and why they have the opinion that they have. You must understand from where they are speaking, why they have the opinion they have, not just what they are saying. And at the end, you will get your turn. It sounds easy, it's not. Practice being the last to speak. That's what Nelson Mandela did.
Every decision we make in our lives as individuals or as organizations is a piece of communication. It's our way of saying something about who we are and what we believe. This is why authenticity matters. This is why you have to say and do the things you actually believe, because the things you say and do are symbols of who you are. And we look for those symbols so we can find people who believe what we believe. Our very survival depends on it. So if you're putting out false symbols, you will attract people to those symbols, but you won't be able to form trust with them. This is what Tiger Woods did to us. He lied. He lied. He told us what he thought we wanted to hear. And it was great, and we were drawn to it. And all of us who kind of like that idea of the sort of the good guy, were drawn to it. Until we found out it was a lie. He could have been the bad boy of golf. He could have had all the same endorsements and had a fantastic career and still been hailed as one of the great athletes of our day. But he didn't. He chose to lie.
Good luck forming trust again, Tiger. We don't believe you. We don't trust you. The goal of putting something out there, if you say what you believe and you do what you believe, you will attract people who believe what you believe. If you go to one of your friends and you say to one of your friends, how would you like me to dress so that you'll like me better? How would you want me to address you? How do you want me to speak so that you'll like me more? Right? Your friends are going to look at you and be like, what are you talking about? You're like, come on. What should I wear so that you'll find me more appealing? And how would you like me to speak to you so that you'll like me more? And your friends are going to tell you, just be yourself. That's why I like you. Just be yourself. Now think about what we do in industry. What do? We do market research, and we go out and we ask the customers, what kind of things, what style should we speak to you? How should we decorate ourselves? What kind of things are you drawn to so that we can do those things so you'll like us more? It's just as ridiculous. It's just as ridiculous. Organizations should say and do the things they actually believe, and they will attract people who believe what they believe. Or they can choose to lie, and at the slightest hint that they might be lying, cynicism sets in. And people start saying, I'm not sure I can trust these guys because there's not a lot of consistency in all the things they say and do, which means they can't have a very strong belief set or they're lying to me. And we call them inauthentic. The entire process of asking other people who we should be is inauthentic. That's hilarious to me. All these positioning studies we do are inherent. We're going to do a study to find out from people so we can be more authentic. That's hilarious. Say and do what you actually believe, and the symbols you put out there, the things you say and the things you do, those red hats are ways that people can find you. What you have the ability to do as designers is create those symbols and allow people to use those things to say something about who they are. Work for companies, work for clients, work for people who you believe what they believe. Show up and feel a part of something bigger than yourself. And your part is to put what they believe into pictures and words and symbols and graphics so that other people can use those things to say something about who they are. People put Harley-Davidson logos on their body to say something about who they are. Corporate logo. Ain't no Procter & Gamble's tattooed on anybody's arm. Because Harley means something. They stand for something. People put that tattoo on there not to tell you that they own a motorcycle. They put that tattoo there to tell you something about themselves. You ever see anybody with a Mac laptop put a sticker over that beautiful shining apple? Ain't never gonna happen. Then how will you know who I am? Do you ever see anybody with a PC break out the Windex to clean out their computer? Mac people? Have you ever seen a dirty Mac? Doesn't exist. Does not exist. Why? Because it's who I am. These are symbols we use. The companies that are crystal clear in what they believe, and they're disciplined in how they do it, and they're consistent in what they do, and everything they say and everything they do serves as a symbol of the set of values and beliefs. We use those symbols to say something about who we are. We surround ourselves with the people and the products and the brands that say something about who we are. And when we can find the people who believe what we believe, we're weirdly drawn to them because our very survival depends on it. We need it. And so the more you can give of yourself, the more you can give of what you believe, the more you can with discipline, say and do the things you actually believe, strange things start to happen.
What are your thoughts and what's your approach on finding and building upon passions?
Passion is not an actionable word. It's correct, that those who do the things that they're passionate about do better, but it's not helpful advice. And so the question is, where does passion come from? Passion is a result. Passion is an energy. Passion is the feeling you have when you're engaged in something that you love. Passion is the feeling you have that you would probably do this for free, and you can't believe somebody pays you to do it, And I think we mistake that passion is something we do in our private lives, but it shouldn't be done, in our careers, for example. And I'm a firm believer that you are who you are. And anybody who says, I'm different at home than I am at work, in one of those two places, you're lying. And the goal is to make everything you do in home and at work something that you have excitement to do. So how do you find the things that you're excited to do? Well, it's actually easier than you think. What are the things that you love to do? What are the things that you would do for free? How can you recreate that feeling
and be paid for it. So what are the things that I do on the weekend, right? I love, I'm very involved in the art world. I love to go to museums and galleries, but I love to go see dance and performances because I want to see how others are interpreting the world. So that inspires me. New ideas, new thoughts, new ways of looking at the world are things that interest me privately, and I seek it out and pay money for it, right? So does that mean I have to have a career in the arts? No, it means I have to have a career where new ideas are explored, where people are experimenting and trying things out, and I have to explore new ideas and try things out, and I'm just as excited to go to work every day as I am to, go do something on a Saturday night. And so the idea of finding your passion is ironically simple because you should be doing stuff that you enjoy sometimes. What is the stuff that you enjoy, and then what is the stuff that you love? Who are the people that you love, and what do they all have in common? People are always talking about visions and missions and all of this stuff. When people ask me, like, what example should I look to? Like, what company should I? I'm like, here's an organization with a vision, a cause. It was founded with a cause. It's an entrepreneurial venture. America is an experiment. It's an entrepreneurial venture where a bunch of people got together and decided we needed to start our own country because there were certain obstacles that were getting in the way of a vision that we had of a better kind of country, better kind of company, right? And they stated it right out of the beginning. All men are created equal, endowed with these unalienable rights, amongst which include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it's not just a competitive statement, like to be the best, to be the most respected. That's not what it was. And I'm amazed how many companies start their visions or missions with that terribly egocentric language. It was an ideal. And the amazing thing is we've been good at it and bad at it in our history, but it's endured for 240 plus years because we fundamentally believe that we are at our best when we're pursuing that. But it is an ideal. We will never actually achieve all people are equal, but we will die trying. And that's the point. And it's the same for a company, which is true vision inside a company, is something that has nothing to do with your product. It is an ideal to which you will attempt to build and advance that ideal through your company with your product. You'll never achieve the ideal, but you'll die trying, and this is what gives our work meaning. This is what gives our lives purpose, right? The difference between vision and a goal is the finish line. A goal is 26.2 miles. You can simply count the metrics and know when you've completed your goal. A vision is having a crystal clear sense of what the finish line looks like, but no idea of how far away it is.
Wow.
And the reality is you will spend your entire life never actually crossing the finish line, but the joy that every marathon you complete, you feel like you're getting closer. Every milestone that you accomplish makes you feel like you're getting closer and closer to the ideal, and this is what gives our life and our work meaning. Success is an elusive thing, right? What is it? And I think it's very interesting that if most people can't define success, well, it means you made X amount of dollars. But if you make X amount of dollars but you spend more, are you successful? Or, well, it means you come home happy every day. Okay, how do you know when you're happy, So I think success is a funny thing, which is we all seem to pursue it, but we don't know how to measure it or actually how to define it. So how do you pursue something that you can't measure? Fascinating. So when people say to me, how do you measure success? The question we all have to ask ourselves, am I successful? I don't know. I mean, I had a good year last year. And what does that mean? Does that mean I made a lot of money? Does that mean I was really happy? Oh, I'll let you decide, right? Maybe neither, maybe both. I had a good year last year, but am I successful? And the answer is no. I don't feel I am, because I'm trying to build a world that doesn't exist yet. I'm trying to build a world in which 90% of people go home at the end of the day feeling fulfilled by the work that they do. So I definitely took a big step forward towards that goal, but I'm still so far away. So somebody said to me, then how do you know if you're successful? And the answer is, if it can go by itself. And so what is more interesting to me as a measurement of success is not the markers per se. It's not the financial goal or the size of the house that you want to buy. Those are nice things. Go for it. But those are not measurements of success. Those are just nice things to collect along the way. Right. For me, it's momentum. I want to measure momentum, which is, when something is moving and you start to see it lose momentum, you're like, uh-oh, give it a push, because if you don't give it a push, it's going to stop. And an object in stasis is much harder to get going. It requires a lot more energy to get something started than it does to keep it going, right? That's right. And so
if you don't let it stop and you can keep it going, it's this, it still might slow down there, but you can get it going again much easier. And for me, the opportunity is to get the ball rolling faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like a snowball. And my responsibility is, because it's not rolling downhill yet, it's not on automatic yet, I need to still keep it going to find that critical mass where it can go, and at the point it can go by itself without me, then I will find something else to do. And that may not happen in my lifetime. I think we must all stop measuring promotions, salaries, and these things, but rather measure the momentum of your career. Does my career have momentum? Can I see it moving in the right direction? Can I see it gathering moss? Can I see that it's becoming easier for me to keep the momentum? It's becoming easier for me to grow the size of this thing. It's requiring less effort. That's the thing we need to measure. Yeah. That's the thing that we need to be cognizant of, which is the momentum of our careers, not just the markers that we think define our success.
I did a little experiment with a homeless person. Not like on them, it's not like electrodes. With them, voluntarily helped me. Because the whole idea of giving, right? You've all walked down the street and you've all seen someone begging, and you either have or haven't thrown a few pennies in their cup. When you do, you feel good. You bought that feeling. That is a legitimate commercial transaction. Commercial transactions are defined as the exchange of consideration. There was an exchange of consideration here. You gave money, you got the feeling of goodwill. You paid for that feeling. If you didn't give money, you either feel nothing or you feel bad. You can't feel good by not giving. All right? You paid for that feeling. So now the question is, how is that person encouraging us to give? The joke is, they act like every corporation in the world. They talk about themselves. Me, 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 right? Like they sit there with their little outdoor advertising, little sign, right? And it says, I'm homeless, I'm hungry, I got 12 kids, I'm a veteran, God bless. They got it all in there. Trying to appeal to somebody, the religious vote, the veteran vote, the child sympathizer, surround yourself with lots of pets, go for that one too, right? All in an attempt to get something from someone. Takers, not givers, right? All about me. Well, what do corporations do? We've added more RAM, we've added more ROM, we've added more speed. This one's number one. We're the biggest, we're the best. We've been around since 1969. We're better than them, we're faster than them. We're more efficient than that one. Me, 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 me. And so even if we buy their product, guess what? I don't really feel much. So I did this little experiment. I found a nice homeless lady on the streets of New York who's willing to help out. And I learned that with her sign, which was pretty typical, I'm homeless, I'm hungry, blah, 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 she makes between $20 and $30 a day for her day's worth of work, 8 to 10 hours of sitting there selling goodwill. 8 to 10 hours, she'll make $20 to $30. $30 is considered a good day. I changed her sign, and the new sign made her $40 in 2 hours. And then she left. It's one of the reasons she's homeless is because she's decided that she only needs $20 to $30 a day to live. If she stayed, she would have made $150. The point is she made $40 in 2 hours. What did the sign say? The sign said, if you only give once a month, please think of me next time. It has nothing to do with the taker. It has everything to do with the giver. And what are the objections people give when they don't give? I can't give to everyone. How do I know that they really need it? And so I addressed both those concerns. I know you can't give to everyone, so if you only give once a month, my cause is legitimate. I will still be here when you're ready to give. $40, 2 hours. Make it about them, not about you. The fact of the matter is 100% of customers are people. And 100% of clients are people. And 100% of employees are people. I don't care how good your product is, I don't care how good your marketing is, I don't care how good your design is. If you don't understand people, you don't understand business. We are social animals, we are human beings, and our survival depends on our ability to form trusting relationships. Do you ever watch Deadliest Catch on the Discovery Channel? I was flipping through the channels one night and Deadliest Catch came on. And on this episode, just random, they were in a huge storm. Now, for those of you who don't know Deadliest Catch, they take these crab fishing boats out in the Bering Sea, which is like terrible, and they put cameras on them, and we watch, right? The reason that's, I guess, significant is because these crab fishermen have, I think, one of the top 5 deadliest jobs in the world. You know, I don't know what the exact number is, but dozens of fishermen die every year doing this. We apparently find that entertaining. Which it actually is. So they have cameras only on 5 or 6 of the ships, even though there are many, many, many ships that go out fishing every season. And they don't really come into proximity with each other because, you know, the ocean's huge, and they usually sabotage each other and give each other false information because they're all competitors. They're all looking to get the crabs and, you know, make sure that they find them and somebody else doesn't. And, you know, it's business, right? It's just business. It's okay. We all do the same thing in our own companies. And in this one episode, this big, huge storm was so violent that they had to bring all the pots, which are the big cages that they catch the crabs in. They had to bring all the pots back on the boat and wait out the storm. And just by luck, one of the boats that had cameras on it was in proximity of a boat that didn't have cameras on it. And so they filmed, they had secured all their pots on the deck, and so they started filming the other boat. And they filmed a guy climbing on the outside of the cage, securing the pots. And all of a sudden, a huge wave hits the side of the boat, and the guy's not there anymore. And the people on the boat with the cameras start screaming, "Man overboard, man overboard, man overboard." And they turn their boat towards where they think he might be. He's a stranger, they don't know him, they don't know the crew members of the other boat, and yet they react. And they turn towards him. And they find him in the drink. And for those of you who don't understand how dangerous this is, if the water is so cold that if you're in the water for, I think that it's a minute or a minute 30, hypothermia will set in and you die. And they come upon him, and he's screaming, "Don't let me die, don't let me die." And they pull him on board, not out of the woods yet. They strip off his clothes because it's wet and cold, and they wrap blankets around him to prevent hypothermia from setting in. And he survives. And it's overwhelming. And the captain comes down, and this is all on, I mean, you can go watch it on TV. The captain comes down, and he hugs this stranger, this young man, his competitor. He hugs this guy as if he's his own son. I lost it. Everybody is crying. And you realize what happened here was a human interaction. And the reason they risk their own lives to help this other person, even though they spend every other day trying to get ahead and sabotage, is because at the end of the day, they're all crab fishermen. And they know something about each other. And they know something about the risk that they all take to do this. And when push comes to shove, they will put themselves out there to help each other for no other reason than they get it. They're one of the same. I will promise you that every single member of that crew that day went home with a feeling of fulfillment. I promise you that every single person on that crew that day felt more good in their hearts and in their jobs than the richest days that they've ever pulled in. My question is what are you doing to help the person next to you? Don't you want to wake up and go to work for the only reason that you can do something good for someone else? Wouldn't you want them to do that for you? I'm a lover of creative people. And so any sort of expression of how you see the world with different terminology is fascinating to me. And so even though I myself am a photographer, so I have that visual aspect, I'm a huge fan of modern dance and spend a lot of time sort of with dancers and in the dance world, and have, you know, tried my hand at choreography just to see, you know. I'm not good, but I like the idea of trying it, you know. And so for me, it's about perspective, which is when you hang out with dancers and you sort of learn to dance a little bit, or you learn to choreograph a little bit, or you learn to paint a little bit. You know, I'm not a painter, but I painted a painting recently. You know, if you understand, it's like chaos theory. You know, everything's connected, right? You know, it's like we conveniently divide up our lives. Like, here's my personal life, here's my professional life. Here's my social life. I'm looking to find balance. It's just you.
you know, and all the same things apply. And so if you're good here, you can apply what you learn here to there, you know. And so when you learn how things interconnect and people interconnect and how human relationships work and presence. I mean, you want to learn about presence? Take a dance class. You learn all about how to present yourself and be forwards. You know, take an acting class. Learn how to, you know, present your speech. People say, Simon, how'd you learn this? It's like I'm exposed to all of this. So the tools I've learned have just mainly been different perspectives on how other people use their creative talents to see the world, and if I can get little pieces of those, they help me in many, many different ways. Imagine we're standing in a big empty room, right? And we're standing in one corner, and I give you a simple instruction. I want you to go to that corner in a straight line, right? Off you go, no big deal, right? Without telling you, I slip a chair in front of you. What do? You go around the chair. Now you just disobeyed what I told you to do. I told you to go to that corner straight line. But this is the amazing things about human beings, which is when we're given a clear destination, we use our own creativity and our own sense of innovation and our own problem-solving abilities to overcome obstacles to get to the destination. In other words, the destination is more important than the route, right? We are flexible about the route. We are obsessed with the destination. Reset. We're standing in the corner together, and I give you a simple instruction. Go somewhere in this room in a straight line. And you say to me, well, where do you want me to go? I'm like, I don't know. You're smart. Figure it out. Go in a straight line. And so you pick a point and you start walking, and without telling you, I put a chair in front of you, and what do? You come to a grinding halt. And I say, what did you stop for? You go, well, you put a chair in front of me. Or you'll make a sudden turn and go in another direction, right? And this is the problem. It's the same obstacle. The difference is when you have a clear destination, the obstacles become easy to overcome. When you don't have a clear destination, you keep coming to a grinding halt. And what we do in our companies is we're counting the steps we're taking along the route, but we're never looking at the destination, right? So a company says, made $1 million this year, we were only planning on making 800,000. Like we took 10 steps, we're only planning on taking 8. Where are you going? No clue, right? We count the steps. And so the point is that people want to feel that the effort that they're exerting actually are moving somewhere. And so successful measurement, successful recognition is not just for the steps you take. It's not just for the effort. It's that the effort you exerted moved us closer to where we're trying to get to. And that get to should be some crazy ideal. My ideal is to live in a world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning, you know, inspired to go to work and fulfilled by the work that they do. And the couple of measurements that I use are if the book is selling, and by the way, people ask me, how many have you sold? I have no clue. I've never asked the publisher because I don't care. I really don't care how many I've sold. What I care about is the Amazon rankings and that those are going steady or up and not plummeting, because that means other people, right? Because I don't have a publicist, I don't have a marketing strategy on purpose. I didn't hire one of those companies to sell the book for me. And the reason is because I'm not interested in book sales. I'm interested in the spreading of an idea. And so I just use that as a metric to help me understand, am I sort of marching in because the more I preach, is it resonating? You know? And so you have a couple of these imperfect measurements that help you understand, are you going along the way? So it's not just great effort, look what you achieved, because that's what we're doing now. Right? Our goal is to increase top-line revenues by $50 million. For what reason? Right? Which is, we have to know the destination, and then we say, amazing. You took us that much closer. And if we go to the right, it's because we were overcoming an obstacle. If we hadn't gone to the right, we would have been stuck forever. Thank you. You know? It's not always straight lines. It's not always straight lines. But it's in one direction. Rarely are we instant experts. You may have a particular gift or affinity towards something, but you still get better. You know, people would pay me high compliments when I started speaking, and then people who've seen me a year or two later say that I'm even better, and I feel it.
Why is that?
Because you learn more. You know, I think that hubris is dangerous. I think to think that you're an expert in anything is a foolish pursuit. You're never as good as you could be. There's always room for improvement. There's always room to get better. That doesn't mean you have to listen to all the advice. Just, you know, not necessarily does everybody know best, but to believe that you can be better, and to believe that you can offer more is a constant pursuit. You know, I used to think being a public speaker meant being poised and presenting in a way that was compelling and speaking at the right pace, and that's a part of it. But I have been taking more risks lately, doing things that are very unstructured and very uncomfortable. And I will now do, like if I have an hour to speak, I'd rather speak for 20 minutes and do 40 minutes worth of questions. And who knows how that's going to go. And that to me is the best. And so I'm a better speaker because now I'm way more open to the unknown, where a few years ago that would have scared me.
Dopamine is the feeling that you found something you're looking for, or that you accomplished something you set out to accomplish. So you know that feeling you get when you cross something off your to-do list? That's dopamine. Feels awesome. You know when you have a goal to hit and you achieve that goal, you're like, yes! You feel like you've won something, right? That's dopamine. The whole purpose of dopamine is to make sure that we get stuff done, right? The historical reason for dopamine, we would never eat if we only waited until we got hungry, because there's no guarantee that we would find food. So dopamine exists to help us go looking for food. We get dopamine when we eat, which is one of the reasons we like eating. And so when you see something that reminds you of something that feels good, we want to do the behavior that helps us get that feeling, right? So let's say you're out there going for a walk and you see an apple tree in the distance. You get a small hit of dopamine. And then what it does is it focuses us on our goals. And now we start walking towards the apple tree. And as the apple tree starts to get a little bigger, we feel like we're making progress. You get another little shot of dopamine and another little shot of dopamine until you get to the tree and you're like, yes! Okay? This is why we're told you must write down your goals. Your goals must be tangible. There's a biological reason for that. We're very, very visually oriented animals. You have to be able to see the goal for it to biologically stay focused, right? If you don't write down your goals, if you can't see your goals, it's very hard to get motivated, to get inspired. For example, think about corporate visions, right? A corporate vision has to be something we can see, right? That's why it's called a vision. You can see it, right? To be the biggest, most respected, to be the fastest growing are not visions. They're nothing, right? What does that even look like? Respected by whom? Your mother? Yourself? Your friends? Your shareholders? Who knows? What's the metric? Dunno. It's amorphous, doesn't motivate us. Just like I can't tell you, you will get a bonus if you achieve more. You're going to ask me, how much more? I'm going to say, more. Doesn't work. You need a tangible goal. You need a tangible goal, right? Here's a great vision. Martin Luther King, I have a dream that one day, little black children and little white children will play on the playground together and hold hands together. We can imagine that. We can set our sights on that. And every time we achieve a goal and achieve a metric and achieve a milestone that makes us feel like we're making progress to the vision we can see, we keep going and going and going until we achieve something remarkable. You have to be able to see it. Dopamine. Like I said, dopamine is the feeling you get when you set out to find something you're looking for as well. I talked about the to-do list. I came home from a trip just a couple days ago and I had a bunch of errands to run and I wrote down a little list of things I had to do and off I went, right? And as I was walking past, I think it was the dry cleaners, I don't remember. I was walking past something, I remembered, oh, I have to do that, and I hadn't written down on my to-do list. So I went in and finished what I needed to do, and then when I came out, I then wrote it on my to-do list and then crossed it out. Because I wanted the dopamine. Feels good. Dopamine comes with a warning. Dopamine is highly, highly, highly addictive. Here are some other things that release dopamine. Alcohol, nicotine, gambling, your cell phone. Oh, you think I'm joking? Okay, we've all been told that, if you wake up in the morning and you crave a drink, you might be an alcoholic. Well, if you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is check your phone before you even get out of bed, you might be an addict. If you walk from room to room in your own apartment holding your telephone, you might be an addict. When you're driving in your car and you get a text and your phone goes beep. We hate email, true. We love the beep, the buzz, the ding, oh. Right? You'll be there in 10 minutes, and yet you have to look at it right now. You might be an addict. And even if you read it and it says, are you free for dinner next Thursday? And you have to reply immediately, you can't wait the 10 minutes, you might be an addict. And for all you Gen Ys out there who like to think that you're better at multitasking because you grew up with the technology, then why do you keep crashing your cars when you're texting? You're not better at multitasking, you're better at getting distracted. In fact, if you look at the statistics, ADD and ADHD have, diagnoses of ADD and ADHD have risen 66% in the past 10 years. Okay, ADD and ADHD is a frontal lobe disorder, right? Are you telling me out of nowhere 66% of our youth have a frontal lobe problem? Where did that come from? No, it's a misdiagnosis, right? What are the symptoms of a dopamine addiction to technology? Distractibility, inability to get things done, easily distracted, you know? Shortness of attention, it's all the same thing, so we misdiagnose things. It's the addictive quality of dopamine. We can also get addicted to performance in our companies when all they do is give us numbers to hit, numbers to hit, numbers to hit, and a bonus you get, and a bonus you get, and a bonus you get. All they're doing is feeding us with dopamine, and we can't help ourselves. All we do is want more, more, more. It's no surprise that the banks destroyed the economy, because one of the things we know about dopamine addict is they will do anything to get another hit, sometimes at the sacrifice of their own resources and their relationships. Ask any alcoholic, gambling addict, or drug addict. Ask them how their relationships are doing and if they've squandered any of their resources. It's an addiction. Dopamine is dangerous if it is unbalanced. It is hugely helpful when in a comfortable and balanced system, but when unbalanced, it's dangerous and it's destructive.
There's a brilliant leader by the name of David Marquet who wrote a book called Turn the Ship Around. And he had an experience as a submarine captain on the USS Santa Fe where he realized that as much as he knew about submarining, you know, he'd been a submariner his whole career, that put on this new submarine, he learned the hard way that he actually didn't know how the submarine worked. He made an order that nobody knew how to do it because that didn't exist on that sub. And so he realized he had no choice but to trust his people. And he went through this transformation as a leader of telling everybody what to do to allowing people to tell him what should be done. And I've learned a lot from him, and I highly recommend his book. And I've really learned that, which is, you know, at the top of the organization, as David says, the people have all the authority, the leaders have all the authority, but at the bottom they have all the context, right? And so you can't just push all the context up; you have to push the authority down. And so the responsibility of leadership is to train people, make sure that they have the skill set, help build their confidence that they have the confidence to do what needs to be done. Yeah. They have to have competence and confidence. Right. And that's your job. That's the only job of the leader. It's like a parent. Mm-hmm. Make sure they have competence and confidence. You know, make sure your kids get schooling and make sure that they believe in themselves. And then leave them, you know? And so I've done the same thing. Instead of sort of showing people how I would do it, I want them to learn how it's done, you know, and feel good about themselves, and then just however they do it is how they do it. Yeah. You know, and the result is remarkable. People feel better about coming to work. They feel like they have something to contribute. They feel more valuable, as opposed to just being told this is how I would do it, or I'm going to do it this way, or do it my way. Completely changing my understanding of my job as more like a parent than a manager has had remarkable impact.
It's easy to pull things back. It's very hard to ramp things up. And I'd rather start with something that's too big and pull it back into reality than start with something that's so easy that you can't really get it up. For example, you know, don't set your goals realistically, set them entirely unrealistically. I mean, shoot for 80 and be disappointed when you hit 70, as opposed to shooting for 20 and being ecstatic when you hit 21. We beat our goal. Yeah, but it was very low goal. You know, I think to be frustrated and achieving something rather than ecstatic and achieving less is a better way to live. Mm-hmm. Not to mention you achieve more. I'm a great believer in that the greater good, like those things are like so big, they're ridiculous. I mean, like, you know, my goal is 100-year goal is called world peace. You know, so daunting, you know, but that's the idea. If I fail, and I certainly won't achieve it in my lifetime, I like to think that what I'll contribute towards that ridiculous, idealistic, nonsense goal will be more than if I say, if I can just be happy by myself in my little house, you know?
Right.
I mean, that's nice and all, but
that's good.
I like the idea of contributing to your neighbor as well.
You speak to businesses and companies and leadership teams and employees and stuff. Without mentioning names, I don't want to put you on the spot, but have you gone and talked to a company that's been in trouble and then spoken to their team and then checked in on them after you've spoken to their leadership team? And what did that look like? Did you notice a noticeable change? Did they come to you and tell you that this has helped our organization out and our culture is much improved because of it?
You mean, does my work? I mean, sure. Here's the problem with my stuff. You got to do it. And I'm not anybody's, like, you know, mom or dad. I'm not going to do it for you. And I have a very laissez-faire approach of it. I once had a client, this is a bunch of years ago, that said, "What guarantee do I have that your stuff will work?" To which my answer was, none. Like, I'm giving you a tool. It's like a hammer. You can use it broadly or narrowly. You can build a table, you can build a house. It's the same tool. You can use it for marketing, you can use it to completely revitalize your entire culture. And even though I'm going to sell you the most beautiful hammer, I'm not going to guarantee the structural integrity of the house, right? It's your business. You want to ignore all my stuff? Ignore it. I don't care. And if your business collapses, you know what happens to me? Nothing. Like, I don't mean to be cold about it. Like, of course I want the people I work with to do well, but it's not mine. It's theirs. And I take no emotional responsibility for the decisions they make. So yes, there are many people that I've had the pleasure of working with, some who worked for dysfunctional organizations, that went on the hard journey of completely changing the way they lead and completely revitalizing their culture, and it has great success. It's not because of me, it's because of them. Right? At the same time, there are many people who came in like, "What an amazing speech," and did nothing. You know, "Thanks, that was great," you know? And of course it's gonna fail, you know? So I think that we have too much, especially in the consulting world or the design world, everybody's so paternalistic about it. And designers are famous for this, right? They get so personally offended when the client chooses the wrong thing. "Oh, they're such idiots. Don't they know we're trying to help them?" Or who cares? Like, it's their fucking business, right? That's what you find. I've had that. Instead of arguing with somebody for them to make the right choice, because we genuinely want to help them, what I have found is if you push the accountability onto, because when we argue, we're taking accountability. This is better. This will help you. We're taking responsibility, accountability. But if we say, "Look, we've been doing this a bunch of years. We know more about design than you do. I'm telling you, for every reason that I can outline for you, why this will help you more. But if you don't want to do it, that's fine. It's your business. Do what you want." The minute you switch the accountability and put it all on them, amazingly, they're much more open to your opinion. Because now they're responsible.
If you want another amazing Simon Sinek video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
And upon making that decision, this amazing calm came over me. An excitement even. I was excited to now be there.
If you're not happy, it's because you're not serving.